I'm sure, like the rest of us, you're in a state of shock at the news that we've woken up to here in the UK.
Yeah, I feel like I've used the word devastated a couple of times, since the news broke of Prince dying at 57. It seems unreal because in a lot of ways he was a bit of an ageless wonder, if you will. And one of the very few artists, if not the only artist, to have remained consistently relevant for nearly 4 decades, an amazing feat in and of itself, but someone who still was able to grab headlines and wasn't a nostalgia act at all.
And Kelley, he was notorious, wasn't he, for his privacy and for the fact that during his most productive, in terms of hits period, he didn't give interviews. So how come you got to speak to him? What were the circumstances of that?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to me, too, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm a member of an organization here in the States called the National Association of Black Journalists, and we have an annual convention every summer in various cities. And last summer, we happened to have a convention in Minneapolis, Prince's home state, and he heard we were in town and quite literally, invited on Twitter thousands of us to come out to a dance party at his home. No one knew what the expectations were other than we were gonna get a chance to go to Paisley Park. Prince wanted to meet with 10 of us and to sit down at his home, and I walked into, after a long hallway with all of these great photos of his career throughout the years and different iterations of hairstyles and artistry, kind of walked into Studio A, and he was sitting behind the boards and shook my hand and then said, you know what, why don't we go upstairs into a room that's a little bit bigger that can suit all of us. And we walked through this home where I saw like a 50s style kitchenette on one side, and there were cages of doves, all throughout the home, which was crazy. I'd often heard about the dove room, but they were just kind of sprinkled throughout the home, and went upstairs into this conference room and sat down with him for about an hour. And it was a no-holds-barred conversation. We could talk about anything and everything. He was very gracious, very open, very honest, and at times funny. It was, again, like I said, an unexpected experience, but one that I wrote about then and I wrote about now, and was probably one of the highlights of my career.
And what was he like, Kelley? I mean, you say he was disarming, but what was it like sitting in his presence, being in his home, sitting around the table with him?
Yeah, he was great. He was actually sitting next to me, and if you can imagine this, wearing a gold lame pantsuit and his afro kind of picked out. And even though, he's a small guy, 5 feet 2 inches, I had a very, very large presence.